Welcome to the SCP Foundation Classified Briefing. Today's subject: SCP-939 with many voices. For continued access to vital Foundation intelligence, please like and subscribe to the channel. Initial containment of SCP-939 was necessitated following multiple disappearances and subsequent discovery of dismembered human remains within SECTOR-17's perimeter during an exploratory geological survey. The anomaly, visually characterized by its crimson, translucent skin and lack of major organ systems apart from a rudimentary brainstem, vocal cords, and a highly efficient respiratory system, proved immediately hostile. Its primary method of predation involves sophisticated auditory mimicry, replicating human voices to lure unsuspecting personnel into close proximity. Operatives quickly identified the source of distress calls as originating from these entities, which were initially mistaken for injured civilians. Containment teams established a perimeter, prioritizing the capture of live specimens over immediate extermination. The creatures demonstrated remarkable speed and strength, necessitating the deployment of specialized tranquilizer darts and reinforced net systems. Several Class D personnel were regrettably lost during this phase, underscoring the extreme danger posed by its deceptive vocalizations. Never assume a familiar voice in an unsecured area is legitimate. Subsequent anatomical examination of contained SCP-939 specimens revealed several profoundly disturbing deviations from typical biological structures. While appearing superficially mammalian, its crimson translucent integument conceals no complex digestive or circulatory systems as understood by current biological models. Instead, internal observation indicates a highly decentralized neural network pervading its muscular tissue, supporting its advanced vocal mimicry and rapid motor responses. Its respiratory system is exceptionally efficient, capable of sustaining prolonged periods of intense physical exertion. Crucially, SCP-939 lacks functional eyes or ears, relying entirely on advanced echolocation and scent for navigation and prey detection, a fact often overlooked by new personnel. The precise mechanism by which it absorbs and processes nutrients remains a subject of ongoing research, though observations confirm a brutal consumption of organic matter. Never assume its lack of visible sensory organs equates to a diminished awareness of its surroundings. Its senses are merely alien. Prior to its containment at Site-17, the earliest documented instance of SCP-939 activity traces back to a remote Appalachian Valley. A Foundation-monitored civilian disappearance report in the early 2000s, initially attributed to local wildlife, escalated when follow-up teams encountered distorted human vocalizations emanating from dense forest. These sounds, later confirmed as highly accurate mimicry, led to the loss of several retrieval specialists who pursued what they believed were calls for help. Reconnaissance drones eventually identified multiple SCP-939 specimens inhabiting a network of caves and abandoned mine shafts. It became evident that the valley's sparse population had been systematically preyed upon, with the creatures exhibiting a terrifying efficiency in luring and incapacitating victims. This first contact, outside a controlled environment, underscored the anomaly's capacity for sustained predation and covert proliferation in unmonitored regions. Always prioritize remote observation and acoustic analysis before direct engagement in unconfirmed hostile environments. The Appalachian incident provided critical insight into SCP-939's hunting methodology, revealing a disturbing level of coordination that transcends simple predation. While initial encounters suggested isolated threats, subsequent analysis confirmed pack behavior. These entities often employ a primary lure, typically a distress call or familiar voice, to draw targets into a pre-established kill zone. Secondary individuals then flank the victim, using the initial vocalization as a distraction while moving with unsettling silence. The auditory deception is multi-layered. Specimens have been observed mimicking multiple distinct voices simultaneously, creating convincing scenarios of multiple individuals in peril, or a false sense of safety. This vocal tapestry disorients and emotionally compromises targets, making them exceptionally vulnerable. Never underestimate the psychological impact of hearing a loved one's voice begging for help in a dark corridor, especially when the source is not human. Your training requires you to recognize that such voices are not a cry for assistance, but a carefully constructed snare. Any unauthorized vocalization within a containment sector or exclusion zone must be treated as hostile infiltration, regardless of its apparent urgency or familiarity. SCP-939's primary anomalous characteristic, and arguably its most insidious, is its advanced vocal mimicry. The anomaly can perfectly replicate the voices of past victims and any human speech it has previously heard. This includes not only specific words and phrases, but also inflections, accents, and emotional nuances, making its imitations virtually indistinguishable from genuine human communication to the untrained ear. It does not appear to comprehend the meaning of the words it vocalizes, but rather reuses recorded phonetic patterns. This capability is not limited to simple phrases. Specimens have demonstrated the ability to construct entire sentences or short conversations from a repertoire of acquired vocal samples. Furthermore, this memory appears long-term, with specimens retaining complex vocal patterns for years, even across periods of sensory deprivation. This means any vocal interaction, however brief, can be stored and later weaponized against personnel. You must understand that any voice originating from an unverified source within a containment zone is a deceptive tool, regardless of its familiarity or apparent context. Never respond to unverified vocalizations without explicit authorization and verification protocols. The mimetic capabilities detailed previously are foundational to SCP-939's hunting strategy, colloquially termed the Lure Protocol. This isn't merely opportunistic mimicry. It's a sophisticated psychological weapon. The anomaly will often project the voice of a known individual, frequently someone in distress, from an obscured location. This creates an immediate emotional response and compels a target to investigate or attempt a rescue. Pack members, as discussed, will then position themselves silently around the source of the voice, preparing to ambush. The vocalizations are meticulously crafted to exploit human empathy and a desire to help. Furthermore, SCP-939 has demonstrated the ability to create more complex scenarios, such as two distinct voices arguing, or a child crying for a parent, to increase the likelihood of drawing in multiple targets, or a more emotionally invested response. You must internalize that any voice you hear in a containment breach scenario that does not originate from a verified Foundation communicator or colleague is a calculated deception designed to draw you into a kill zone. Do not attempt to engage or rescue. Prioritize your own safety and report the vector immediately. Incident Report 939 Alpha serves as a grim illustration of the anomaly's cunning and the devastating effectiveness of its lure protocol. During a containment breach at Site Classified and 20 Classified, Dr. Elena Martinez, a senior researcher specializing in mimetic hazards, became isolated from her team. Over subsequent hours, rescue teams reported hearing what they believed were Dr. Martinez's panicked calls for help, originating from deep within the breach sectors. Her voice, perfectly replicated by SCP-939, contained specific details about her location and even unique distress phrases known only to close colleagues. This led multiple rescue attempts into direct ambushes, resulting in 3 fatalities and 7 injuries. It was later confirmed that Dr. Martinez had been incapacitated and taken by SCP-939 within minutes of the breach's onset. The anomaly then systematically used her recorded voice, including phrases it had presumably acquired during previous research interactions, to systematically bait and neutralize Foundation personnel. This incident underscores that SCP-939 will not merely mimic, it will weaponize trust and familiarity against you. Never assume a voice's authenticity simply because it belongs to a known individual or contains specific, seemingly personal information. Every unverified vocalization from SCP-939 is a predatory maneuver. The sustained exposure to SCP-939's mimetic vocalizations, particularly after incidents like 939 Alpha, present significant psychological ramifications for personnel. Even those who successfully evade physical contact often experience profound and lasting distress. Post-exposure psychological evaluations frequently reveal heightened paranoia, especially regarding auditory stimuli. Personnel report vivid auditory hallucinations, perceiving the voices of lost colleagues or loved ones, even in secure environments. This phenomenon, termed echoed trauma, can severely compromise an individual's operational effectiveness and personal well-being, fostering a deep-seated distrust of audible communication. The anomaly's ability to perfectly replicate voices creates a psychological weapon that persists long after the immediate physical threat has passed. You must understand that this is not merely a physical danger. It is an assault on your cognitive security. Robust psychological debriefing and continuous monitoring are mandatory for any personnel involved in a 939-related event, as the psychological contamination is a pervasive and insidious threat. Ongoing research into SCP-939's vocal capabilities has revealed a disturbing level of sophistication. Initial hypotheses suggested it merely replicated sounds, but advanced acoustic analysis now indicates a capacity for learned vocal inflection and contextual nuance previously undetected. We have observed instances where the anomaly, after a failed lure attempt, subtly altered its subsequent vocalizations to more effectively exploit psychological vulnerabilities. This adaptive learning suggests a predatory intelligence far beyond simple mimicry, indicating it is not merely echoing sounds, but actively constructing deceptive auditory scenarios. Furthermore, forensic vocal analysis of its lures against documented victim speech patterns suggests it retains an extensive library of its prey's specific idioms and emotional inflections. This means it doesn't just sound like your colleague, it sounds like your colleague times distress, times pleading for help asterisk, or whispering a secret. This calculated use of personalized auditory data is a chilling development. You must assume every sound emanating from its containment zone is a deliberate, intelligent attempt to compromise security and personnel. The persistent threat posed by SCP-939, with many voices, cannot be overstated. Its predatory intelligence and highly advanced vocal mimicry represent an existential danger, not just to individual personnel, but potentially to wider containment security. The anomaly's capacity to exploit psychological vulnerabilities through perfectly replicated voices and its insidious adaptation means every breach carries significant risk of widespread compromise and psychological contamination. Its ability to learn and apply context to its lures makes it one of the most cunning predators we contain. Your unwavering adherence to all auditory and physical isolation protocols is paramount. Any deviation, any perceived anomaly in sound, must be reported immediately, without hesitation. Under no circumstances are you to respond to any vocalization, regardless of its apparent origin or urgency, within or near its containment zone. Ignoring its lures is your primary defense. This concludes your classified briefing on SCP-939 with many voices. Stay vigilant, Foundation personnel. Dismissed.